Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds about nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today in this video, we asked to TPK or to not TPK in your Dungeons and Dragons game. We want to start this video by thanking our sponsor, DriveThruRPG. If you're looking for PDFs and other digital contents, you can head over to DriveThruRPG. Down in the description below, there is a link as well as a promo code to get a one-time 10% discount off of any order above $10. Go check out DriveThruRPG.
All right, so we're gonna talk today about killing players, the good, the bad,
Killing characters.
kill,
Never kill your players in the game. If you've killed the players at your table, they call that homicide, and things have gone horribly wrong.
killing characters, possibly all of them, and the good, the bad, and the ugly as part of it.
TPKs. Apparently, this is something you're getting really good at lately, I've heard.
I wouldn't say I'm getting good at it. I've only ever done one. It just happened to be last night.
Well, you've also had some other recent player deaths as well, though, right?
Well, that kind of stuff can happen as as things go here and there, but I digress.
I've only ever had 2 TPKs, I think.
Well, you did the one many years ago when the players were stupid. It was late, and we just kept going.
One of my earliest TPKs was the game you're talking about, and there was, I don't remember the details. I just remember that I had really foreshadowed and alluded to that the players were out of their depth wherever they were, and they should probably turn around, and they didn't.
They didn't. We died. I remember playing a swashbuckler, and I remember us being in the forest. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, oh, we all died. Oh well, we'll see what happens. Next time, or who's running, or whatever.
Now, that being said, in that particular situation, in hindsight, I would not have done that. I would have captured you guys. I would have done something more interesting than just out kill the party. There was nothing that moved the story along about that. There was nothing interesting about that. That being said, I'm not completely opposed to wiping out the party, but I am less inclined to do it nowadays.
Well, as you said, I've actually had a recent, TPK, but it was actually requested. We did a giveaway, a contest for, one of us from Nerdarchy for running a game for a fan and his friends. And so, since it was his party, as they say, I was like, what are you looking for? And he's like, well, I want to have this, I want to have that, and I'm not opposed to, a glorious death scene for everybody. So I'm like, okay, I can work with that. And as I began planning the adventure, I had the possibility of everyone dying just kind of off to the side. And I let it percolate and what have you. And I brought it into, okay, it's day of, it's literally yesterday. And I'm like, all right, I still don't know what I want to do yet. Do I want to plan this? Do I want to see if they make it out? And I put a really hard encounter in, and I'm like, we'll see how it goes. There was a chance, and it was actually close. They were within a respectable amount of hit points away from defeating the creature. It just, one after the other. There were only 4 players, so one after the other, they wind up, all falling and getting eaten by a zombie T-Rex to later get spat out as a zombie later.
So was there a way for them to win built in, or was it
if they had defeated the T-Rex? That would have
no one tried to escape. No one's like, I'm the last one, I'm out of here.
When it was down to 2, the cleric and the winner of the contest, he's like, yep, I'm out. So he runs. So he flees 30 feet, and the last surviving member, he's half-orc barbarian. He's raging. He's like, oh, I don't run. So he actually winds up, defeating the zombie Gorillian that, he's been locked into battle with from the beginning. And, the T-Rex, and the zombies that there's now 5 of because it keeps regurgitating them. He winds up, falling victim to that. But right before he falls, the cleric turns around and is like, well, I'm going to shoot my last guiding bolt at it, because he actually scored a decent hit with one. He actually critted it, doing like a third of the thing's hit points. So he's like, I'm gonna try again, and he does some damage, but it's not enough. And he comes in, and the zombie T-Rex comes in, and doesn't take long thereafter for him to wind up getting chewed on again.
So I almost feel like I would have wanted to, in that scenario, is like as soon as the first player gets killed, like the next round have him regurgitated as a zombie, and like let them take part in the battle as zombies. That would have been fun.
That would have been a good idea. I didn't think of that, but that's certainly something to consider for the future.
Now I thought I was going to have a TPK when I ran the Think Geek game.
Okay.
At the final encounter, they had to fight. They fought a Minotaur, and they had to fight a what was I calling it? It was a shield guardian.
Okay.
But I made it. But it was a bronze Minotaur. So they had Mecha, the Mecha Minotaur as well. So. And then the fight started, and I'm like, oh man, they're getting torn up. They're focusing on the shield guardian. I don't know if this is should I nerf the encounter now? And I was like, it's a one shot. We're gonna see what happens. And there was a part of me that was like, was thinking maybe I should nerf the encounter or fudge, and I was like, nah. I just don't GM that way.
Mm-hmm.
So if it happens, then it happens. The players die, they die. But the fun thing about it was a couple of the characters did get dropped, but they got brought back up, and it was a really tough fight, and I think it was a satisfying win for the party because it was such a tough fight.
Right.
Had I fudged it and they figure it out, I think you're really taking away from the encounter for them, and I think when it's really close like that, players appreciate it a lot more.
Players are going to appreciate it, but the most important part is they're going to remember it. And that's the thing that you want to look at.
So what do you think the most important part about a TPK is?
All right. So that it being memorable. You want something that players are going to talk about, whether it be, in angst, grr, this happened, or in excitement of like, oh my God, did you see that encounter last night? This happened and that happened. And when they can retell it with vigor, you did it right.
Oh, I had another one I forgot about. They never really had a chance, though. I mean, they kind of did, but had they not died, they would have lost. So I had ran a game called Valhalla Awaits. And the idea was, all these characters were on the cusp of making it into Valhalla. But, something in their past life is keeping them through. So they had to go through, a final test. And, the last test was a test of courage. And while to a Viking, what is more courageous than dying in battle? That is literally how you get to Valhalla.
Yeah.
Right. So they had to fight to the death against unsurmountable odds. And, I would have let them run away if they wanted to, but then they would have gone to hell instead of Valhalla, and they would have lost. So technically they were already dead when the adventure started. But, so I guess that's kind of the thing. If you're gonna have if you're gonna have a TPK, one, you shouldn't really plan it unless it's interesting and gonna be memorable, and the players are gonna have fun, and there's an aha at the end for them that makes it worthwhile.
Okay, so there's a couple things about planning it. Number one, you're planning it because you're planning to have them captured to progress the story forward, or it's something as per last night's game where it was requested, and it was requested as a you can do this if you can do it right, and don't let me know whether it's going to happen or not because that would ruin the surprise. So when it's that kind of stuff, then it's great. But if you've got an ongoing campaign and you're just not wanting to do it anymore, killing everybody just to kill everybody, it's kind of bad. When it comes to it happening when it wasn't supposed to happen, this is where you can think on the fly and try to say, okay, well, based on what they're fighting, is it something that's going to eat them? If it is, that's bad. Is it something that would capture them, possibly take their stuff, and next session winds up being a jailbreak or, an escape attempt? okay, whole new scenario, whole twist of what's going on now, or is it something that they would just the stuff would get taken, they're left for dead, and they recover? Is there an ally that would come and heal them so that they're not dying? There's many different ways that they can lose the encounter without it ending the game.
Yeah, I'm okay with characters dying in the game as long as it's interesting. And again, like you're not the GM that's trying to get the players, because like we come from an era where that's how a lot of the GMs were. It's very adversarial. Like if the GM didn't kill characters, they didn't feel like they're doing their job. All of that. Like in 5th edition, we've only had a couple character deaths. Like apparently you had a TPK. I was able to throw enough frost giants at this higher level party to kill them eventually. The encounter I did for Think Geek was pretty tough and it was challenging. But I also did an earlier one with my Maze of Mandoon adventure where I actually killed our first fan, which that was pretty exciting and memorable. And like you get to the end of the maze and there's a way out. Well, they didn't check for traps. They didn't do anything. They just went they had it right for the exit, and there was a pit there, and
he fell in, got eaten by a bunch of flying snakes.
He fell in the pit, and like he was dead before his body hit the ground because the flying snakes did so much damage. I was like, you're unconscious. He says, no, I'm dead. And it kind of wouldn't have mattered anyway because once you drop it, they kept biting.
Yeah,
it had just been ugly. But and that's the other thing. Like that was a one shot. It was at the very end of the adventure, and it was kind of funny when it happened. So so there are ways where like the character death can be memorable and fun. It doesn't, it just means make up another character and we start again. But like the actual planning a TPK, that would be a party foul, I think, for the GM.
Yeah, and like I said, I wasn't planning that. Okay, this is guaranteed to happen. The party I was playing with last night was 7th level, and they had access to some powerful magic. And it wasn't as a guarantee like, oh, well, I'm going to bring in something that's a, 15th, challenge 15 to just slaughter them in 2 rounds. I gave them a fight, and they had a chance. There wound up being a number of misses, on spells as well as attack rolls. I was actually a little surprised that the half-orc barbarian at 7th level, like, was only swinging a 16 strength. So that was significantly less. He wound up, forgetting a number of rounds to add in his rage damage and a feat or so. So like there were things that would have mitigated the situation and maybe brought it a little bit closer to an actual chance of victory as opposed to a titanic struggle between the cleric and the zombie T-Rex.
Well, at 7th level, you can only have an 18 strength max. But if you take a feat or if you up some of your other stats, then not so much. So that's easy to understand. But the key always is like is to tell the story and have fun. Like that's what you should be going for. Not so much murdering all the characters. It can be fun once in a while. And there are certain type of games that are designed that way. Like if you're playing a meat grinder game that is designed to churn through characters, it's perfectly fine. And that's like everyone comes to the table with the agreement and knowing like, oh, maybe I should bring a couple characters because they're not going to last. I believe, Tome of Annihilation even has a hard setting, or I don't remember what they call it.
It's in
meat
there.
Grinder mode.
Yeah. It's in there. It's definitely something to look at. And I actually asked them at the beginning, like, all right, what are you looking for? Are you looking for Ted's normal adventure where we go and have fun and we're looking to do this, or are you looking for the challenge? Are you looking to really see everything that Chult has to offer? And I was surprised. The cleric, he was.
He's like, I totally want to be bent over by Chult.
He came in and he's ready. He's like, yeah, I got a 3rd level spell. Create food and water. I've got purify. Food and water. So the food and water angle of it, they just had covered straight off the bat. So it wasn't that part should be a significant issue leading to exhaustion and what have you, and it wasn't a problem for them.
So did you guys use meat grinder mode? And for you guys that don't know what that is, that means your death saves are 15 instead of a 10, I believe.
Didn't get to that part because once the players actually dropped, like the one, he went straight from straight from standing to dead.
Oh, that much damage.
Because the zombie T-Rex just bit him in half.
Nice.
He started off at 40 hit points, and the T-Rex bite is 4 die 12 plus 7. So getting to negative 20 wasn't hard. Lots of fun. It bit him in half. He didn't have to worry about it. And by the time the second character wound up dropping, that left the half orc who was getting ready to use his relentless endurance.
Should have went zealot.
You've got ways to plan it, and have it be fun. You have ways to respond should it happen when you weren't looking for it, and you should never be looking to just end the character so that you can end the game.
Dungeons and Dragons is a lot more fun when you're playing and not dead. That is for sure. But guys, in the comments below, let us know what you think. Your most memorable deaths. Feel free to share them while you're at it. Like, share, and subscribe.
While you're down there, don't forget to check that link to Drive Through RPG and get your own digital content.
Till next time.
Stay nerdy.